If you're wondering what that sound is, that is my son squealing on the intercom. So we're gonna work on that. Yeah, welcome to it, guys. Batswadi magazine. This is our second conversation in just this, us talking around unconventional parenting resources. And when we talk about unconventional parenting resources, we almost talking about the things that the previous generation, our moms and dads, may have never heard about. So I'm so looking forward to this chat that we're going to be having, because we're going to be joined by some phenomenal talents that I literally had moments where I was like, you do that for a living? Like, that's what you do? And my eyes were absolutely opened. And it's obviously only when you are so immersed in parenting that you get exposed to certain things. So just to give you a bit of background, when I fell pregnant, a friend of mine, Babi Malloy, let me know that she had done some parenting classes because at some point she was pregnant. And she said to me, oh my gosh, these are the people I recommend. They're absolutely amazing. So I signed up for parenting classes, and I think I opted for the option where it's like a weekend of full days. And I was introduced to such an amazing woman called Tina. And she exposed me and opened my mind to so many things when it comes to the parenting space and the parenting world. And some of the resources we're going to be talking about today came directly from Tina being like, listen, this will be a good route to go. Some of the other resources that I was exposed to actually came from me doing my work in radio. And I became really, really passionate about sharing information. Hence, on my radio show on 702, we have a parenting feature that happens Mondays at 2:00. So I kind of just felt like I really want to share knowledge and information. Not everybody's in a position, I acknowledge, to be able to afford certain resources, but the information is out there. You literally can go to YouTube. But having said that, even if you're able to go to YouTube, I love the personal experience. I love that interaction. So today, that's one of the things that I want to share with you. And if after this conversation, feel free to head over to my YouTube channel and see some of the conversations that I have about the different things that I do. So let me start by introducing to you Tina. I'm excited for this. I haven't actually seen Tina in forever. But Tina is the person who I did parenting classes with, and she introduced me to some amazing things. And I was with Tina in, the third trimester of my pregnancy, and she is one of the people that introduced me to just some amazing resources and things that I wasn't aware of. And even though at the time I knew that I would be having a C-section, I still also wanted to participate in the natural birth space. So I thought it would be really great, to have someone like Tina here, because her job is preparing people in having a baby. Tina, you have joined us. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. I'm just trying to figure out how you can see me instead of the passive.
So the first thing you need to do is turn the camera around.
I figured that out right now. Okay, so you can see me.
Tina, it's so good to see you.
And you too. It's been a little while.
Tina, I know I can see your network is not fantastic, but I'm not. Is it mine?
To try and move.
Okay, let me just see. I'm going to also sort out my.
Wait.
Okay, much better on my side. Can you hear me fine?
I can hear you at the moment, yes.
Fantastic.
I'm just walking around to see if I can get better signal.
You are fabulous where you are. If you can just
Oh,
find a bit of
okay.
light facing you, you are perfect.
Okay.
There we go. So Tina, firstly, I'm so happy to see you. I haven't seen you in so long, and I'm so glad that we got the opportunity to do this. And obviously, before we connected, I was sharing with everyone how I came to doing parenting classes with you, and that just opened my world up, because so many people really believe that parenting is something that just will come naturally and that your mom will teach you what you need to know. But maybe share with me your thoughts of why, because some people might think parenting classes are not necessary. It's just the most natural thing to do.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, it's parenting. I was one of those people who thought it would come naturally. I'm a midwife by profession. I thought I knew it all. I'd handled babies, but they were other people's babies. And I'd never gone home with a baby that was connected to my heart and my brain and my boobs. And within the first 3 months, I was this person who was going to, have a life still, and my baby was going to fit into my world and not the other way around. And that got destroyed in the first week that I was home. I realized that it doesn't work like that. And the more I tried to make my baby fit into my box, the more the worse it got. And actually got quite severe postpartum distress because of my expectations. And I so badly wanted to be a good mother, and I wanted to breastfeed till they were 55 years old, and I just was going to birth beautifully. And it never worked out like that for me because my expectations were unrealistic. And, I hadn't been parented so well myself, so I really wanted to make a concerted effort to do better. But I've got to say that you get this little baby with little needs and wants and personality all of its own that you've got to learn about. And they don't all respond to every bit of advice that you get. And so one thing I want to say is that, when you are a new mom, and even when you're pregnant, when you decide on a person that's going to advise you, stick to that person, because as many people as you ask for advice, as many different pieces of advice you're going to get and just confuse you. So it was my own experience of becoming a mom, my birth and then becoming a mom, that gave me such a shock that I actually then decided to study further to find out about ways that I could prepare other mothers to be on not to be so hard on themselves, and to realize that, it's one thing to carry a baby, as we always say in our classes, and this. There's the thing on getting that baby out, whether it's sunroof or exhaust pipe, a baby's coming out. But going home with that new baby, just, to keep the baby alive is the most stressful part. And I found that mothers often, and especially today, a lot of our mommies read the computer. They read their phone. They're reading Dr. Google. They're trying to find answers on the internet. And they're not using their common sense and their instincts, and they're not reading the baby. And then they often wait until it's too late to get help. And that's one thing I'd like to say, is to try and get help early. Try and get your resources before you have your baby. Where do you get those resources? I'd like to say, come to people like myself and Linda, who we'll hear about from in a moment, and and ask for help. But a lot of people, you're right, they think, what, I'll just read it up. I'll read the books, I'll read the magazines, and they all help. But then there are other things that people have come back to me and said, Tina, if I wish I'd come to your classes, I wish I had known this, because if I had known that, nobody told me. If I had known whatever, I would have made a different decision, or I would have followed a certain path. Or if there'd been somebody like you and Linda around, I would have breastfed for longer. And I said, well, that's why Linda and I are around, because we both wished we'd had somebody like ourselves when we were struggling with new motherhood.
And I think the beautiful thing about the experience is that, you were able to share with us what the myths and misconceptions are? Because you've been a mother, but also
Yes,
and understand what are the messages that are being passed down to us. I mean, I was in your class with my mom, and there were many things that she was like, what? But there are other things that she was like, we've been doing this forever. And I think the beautiful thing about the conversation we're having today is not to say that our moms are wrong and that there's nothing that they can pass down to us. But it's to say that now we have access to information, we have access to science, we have access to data, and we can find a way to marry some of the things that have been passed down to us, because our mothers, our grandmothers, their instincts were on point. And then to also marry that with the information we have access to, the tools we have access to say, actually, in principle, what mom was saying is this, but this is how to do it in this day and age. So in terms of, I
absolutely.
mean, your space, maybe share with us, you've been a midwife. A person would automatically think, oh, a midwife, she should know everything. How did you start to get exposed to all of the information that you did in terms of resources that parents, and I don't want to restrict it to moms, but parents can use?
Okay, so it was my own birth experience that I had with my first daughter. And I thought, I'm a midwife. I know a lot, but I'd never gone home with a baby, and I'd never loved a baby, and I'd never stressed that I was starving my baby. And so I did find people to help me with what was available at the time. Remember, we're talking 39 years ago when I had my
Yes.
first baby. And you're absolutely right, Reba. And I remember your mother so well because she was such a darling. And it was lovely to see her going, wow. And then other times going, but we've been doing that forever. You know what I mean?
And my
And I
mom's a
do
nurse. For those
definitely.
that don't know, my mom actually is a qualified nurse. And even the information that you were sharing, having been in a space of delivering babies, she didn't know.
Right. Well, you see, as a midwife, and as a nurse, you get to know the basics. And then, I mean, from when I trained in the 70s to the training that's being received now, there's so much more that science has justified. And everybody likes to hear that phrase. But science had justified this and this and this now. Now, well, if science has justified it, well, then it must be okay. You know,
Yes.
but there's a hell of a lot to be said for maternal instinct. And there's a hell of a lot to be said. I mean, you're here. I'm here. So certainly our mother's got something right.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sure we've got a lot wrong, just like you did, just like I did with my own children. There's a lot of things that I still want to beat myself up for. So it's that whole thing of, sure, you need to go out and seek relevant information. Try, go to someone you would trust. And that's not always sure. Nice to go on referrals and things like that. But with me, I educated myself because I realized I don't know enough and I would really like to study further, which is what I did. And I went on to do a long distance learning program over 2 years where I learned how to teach, and I learned stuff that I never learned as a midwife. And there were things that I shudder to think that I said to mothers as a young girl, midwife, student, and then newly qualified, that I actually want to hang my head in shame that I can't believe we said those things. Becoming a mother, okay, taught me so much. And it doesn't matter what you do. Becoming a mother is going to teach you so much. You will never come out of that experience of birth, no matter how birth happens for you, the same person as you were going in. And if you allow yourself to change and go with the flow and go with the change and let your baby teach you, let people, your resources help you to be the best mother that you can be. And that's only by seeking out relevant information and trusting the people you're getting that information from. So I actually went and studied further. Not everybody's going to do that, but hopefully people will come to you, the person who studied further, in order to be a little bit more enlightened as you move through this very challenging thing called parenthood.
And it is challenging. I think, I would often speak about how I got to babysit and take care of my nieces and nephews and my cousins that were babies in the era of waterproof and, the layer diapers. And you sort of feel like, I got this. But I think the very important thing that you made note of, and that is standout, is that it's very different when you're parenting from a place of your heart in human form. It's not the same when it's your cousin and your nephew. It's like a whole different dynamic where there's an instinct that kicks in that is so beautiful, but is also so scary in that sometimes you just know what you know and you can't prove. And sometimes that means fighting with a doctor, fighting with a nurse. That just comes innately with being a parent. But at the same time, your overthinking brain, me being this A-type personality, I love to have plans. And then this little human being is like, first off, I'm your boss. You're not my boss. You're not going to tell me what to do. And it's very like, I mean, I was so resistant at the beginning. I mean, I always knew I was going to have a C-section, but I didn't know it would be emergency. I mean, the fact that I went into emergency C-section, like not long after, having my baby shower, not long after being in denial about the fact that I have a kid on the way because I was so scared with all the complications. And then at some point, I truly learned the meaning of surrender. Like I learned the meaning of surrender, which was to say, first off, this child is going to tell me when he wants to come, how he wants to come. And the universe, God, or ancestors, whatever it is that any of you are watching believe in, it's out of your hands. And at some point, you truly have to let go. And I think having the information just gives you a certain confidence that while I surrender, I also have confidence in the fact that I have the tools to handle whatever's going to come my way.
I couldn't have said it better myself. It's having that tools and having some backup that gives you the ability to carry on. And as you say, you love your nieces and you love your nephew and you love your godchildren. And you do. And I don't know if you remember me saying this to you in class. Wait until you have your own baby.
You did!
Then you will know what love is. There's nobody in the world that within 5 minutes of knowing them, this little stranger that you know very well, that you'll take a bullet for. In 5 minutes, you'll take a bullet for. The depth and the height and the width of that love is incredibly hard to describe until it happens to you. And often when your moms come back to the practice and I'll see you cuddling and loving your baby and I see the fathers doing the same thing and I'll go, do you feel the love? And everybody goes, yes, I do. Now I get what you're saying. Completely get what you're saying. And I think what you said there about just surrender and go with the flow. That was the real A-type personality. That was really hard for me to do because I would overthink things so often. It was so hard to think this little thing that just weighs 3.5 kilos has brought me to my knees. And I cried a lot. How can this be happening to me? I'm supposed to be in control. I'm supposed to be the adult. I'm supposed to be the mother. And then I thought about it. I thought, with any new job that you take on, it takes you at least 3 months to figure out what you're doing. So why are we so hard on ourselves that we think that as soon as that baby's head pops out, sunroof or exhaust pipe, that we're supposed to get this information? Babies teach us. And what you said there was just surrender. And if surrender is not a word you like, give over, and it's okay. It's actually okay. In fact, it's going to be better for everybody in the household. When mommy's happy, baby's happy, and then everybody's happy. And it's all about keeping mommy happy. That was one of the best things that you could say. And it was one of the things when I went for a bit of counseling, it wasn't in the same words, but what my counselor had said to me was, Tina, you can't expect your life to carry on as normal because in your 24/7 day, daily, 7 days a week, you are not going to fit in what you did before. And what she said to me was this was your life before, and you think your baby's going to come along and this is going to be your baby. But what happens is this becomes your baby and this becomes your life. And suddenly, and we love doing this in our class, when you give somebody 24 hours and you say to a group of new parents to be who are completely clueless at this point, and you say to them, here's a 24-hour clock. Okay, when are you going to eat? How much time do you need for eating? How much time do you need to go and bath or have a shower? How much time? And you'll see them fill it in. And then Linda will do the thing of the reality of, this is your clock. Let me see. If you're lucky, you might get 2 cups of tea a day. If you're lucky, you might get your big foot, your big toe in the bath or the shower. And it's to change those expectations, to blur them a little bit, and to go with the flow, because this too shall pass. And it gets better and better.
Literally. And I think the sooner that you surrender during pregnancy, and I don't know if having challenges in my pregnancy forced me to get into that headspace sooner, because I had a very serious moment with my gynae, who's a professor and exceptional. And I said to him, you know, I was so panicked every single time we went to an appointment of not knowing what's going to happen, threatening miscarriage all the time. And at one point he said to me, listen, you literally, you can't hold yourself back from loving this being, because even if something, God forbid, happens, it doesn't change what is. So allow yourself to love. And that, for me, the allow yourself to love was the part of the surrender, is allowing the fear to fall away and to love this being that I didn't know. And for me, that was such, I didn't expect that from from my gynae, but he just said, allow yourself to love.
You had a good doctor, my sweetheart. You had a good doctor. And I'm so going to use that phrase, allow yourself to love.
Because that's part of the surrender, is letting go, loving so wholeheartedly that even if, God forbid, something happens and your world will be shattered, you at least know that the time that you had this being in your belly, you loved them wholeheartedly and they loved you back. And my surrender had to happen during pregnancy, that by the time he came, I mean, I think when I tweeted about him being here, I was like, wish me luck with my new boss, because I had already accepted that he's going to tell me what life is like, and he's my greatest teacher. And I still believe that today. That's his job. Is, you know, it's not for him to be my life purpose. That is too heavy a burden to put on him. But for me to say, my child, I'm here just to listen to you tell me and teach me what this life thing is about, what this parenting thing is about, who you are, and how I can love you better. So what comes with all of that is also learning that I don't know everything. And much as if we jump to breastfeeding, we're going to bring Linda on in a moment. Linda, I hope you come through and request to join us live. The breastfeeding thing, everybody thinks is the most natural, easy thing that happens. Did I not struggle? But how amazing is it that the universe brought me to you through Bobby, and I was introduced to the concept of lactation specialist when I was like, doesn't everybody just shove the boob and the kid sucks? And
I love your descriptions.
you know, like that's what we all think, is like, you think women have been doing it for centuries, but I had to change my thinking to say, don't be hard on yourself because women have been doing it for centuries. Our mothers struggled and suffered. We don't need to suffer. That's why resources are there for us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I don't know if I ever shared this, so you know, I'm a grandmother of 4.
Yes.
And I have 2 daughters. So, you know, they lived in my house and they've heard me teaching, and they had beautiful birds, all 4. Okay, they were beautiful, beautiful birds, and they have breastfed successfully and still breastfeeding. You know, and the babies are now saying the words boob, 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 and poking at the boob. And I asked my daughters, I said to them, you know, I've had over 30,000 parents to be through my hands in the last 36 years.
Wow.
And I want to know how you girls did it. How did you, because they know the stuff, they did the classes in with me. How did you do it? How did you get it right? Because you got it right, each of you, twice. How did you do it? And my youngest daughter turned around to me and said, Mom, we grew up in your house. You normalized birth for us. You show, we heard the messages all the time, which is what helps. And here I am now, a granny, and people are going to be like, Tina, surely you're too old, isn't it? It's old-fashioned stuff. But fortunately, I'm up to date. But there it was. I was sitting on their shoulders in that delivery room, sitting on their shoulders as they breastfeed their baby. Of course, so was Linda, because Linda then helped them through, even long distance, okay? Because my one daughter lives in Canada, helped them through all of this. And they asked for help when they needed it. But it was the best accolade I could ever have gotten from anybody, but especially from my daughters, is that I normalized it for them. It was okay if things didn't go according to plan. And if you struggle, get help.
Linda!
Hi there. I miss you.
Guys, let me introduce you to Linda, who is my lactation specialist, also just works with Tina. You guys are honestly the dream team, and you do a number of other things. But if I can honestly say that, I want to say you saved my life, because for those of you that are tuned in and are not aware, you can fully get highly depressed by something like not being able to breastfeed with your baba. And I didn't know that. I'm so glad I was equipped that, we were on the phone like, okay, it's emergency C-section, and then trying to figure out in the hospital, will they allow you there because of COVID, all of those things. But I want you to share, Linda, very quickly, all of the amazing stuff that you do and how you actually help women, because you are one of those powerful, unconventional, I would call it, resources, which are the things that our mothers never knew. My mom was like, what? And she will often, mind you, she's a nurse, she will often say, she struggled with breastfeeding, and then that was just it. There was no help, there was no hope. It was just, you can't breastfeed. We tried giving you porridge. We tried this, it didn't work, so your child just doesn't get breast milk, and then that's the end of it.
Thank you, Lebo. So, I remember your mom fondly, and I often will, even now with moms, will say, I know this woman that had the most amazing mom as a support, and I love grannies, but your mom was very special, Tadi, and she said, when I was teaching you breast care and you were going, well, what is that? And I was talking about intentional breast massage, getting to know the equipment, making sure you know how it works, coming to the classes, understanding the breastfeeding, which seems to be so weird, because you should really think that this would come naturally after birth, regardless of the type of birth. This should follow on just as a natural progression, and it doesn't, as you know. And I remember you saying to me, but do women not do this? Do they not know their breast? Do they not touch them, themselves? Do they not touch their breast? And no, my mom taught me when I went to puberty, and I still brag about your mom.
She showed me what to do with the cream, that you must massage your breasts up and to the side. My mom showed me long ago that you literally have to do breast care, because that is what is needed. It wasn't a breastfeeding connection, but when you showed me, and I was like, I know this.
Exactly. You are my breast care champion. I don't need to show you. You did it better than what I could have ever taught you. So well done. And I've never forgotten that. And I've always bragged to everyone about you and how I just know this mom, and she knows it. She's been doing it since she was this high. So, as a lactation specialist, I come from a background just like Tina, as a midwife and a nurse. We think we know it all. We don't need to go to classes. I wished I'd gone to Tina's classes, because obviously I'm 11 years younger than her. I could easily have gone to her classes, because that would have prepared me. I hit this parenting like a brick wall. I didn't know what had taken me by total surprise. I thought I knew what I was doing. And then I realized, and through the support of people around me, including my husband, I got the breastfeeding right. But wow, I never realized. And I sat back and I was like, hang on a second. Are we as professionals not taught this? Or was I absent for that class? Or what happened? And I just realized it wasn't part. It was a self-study, basically. When we did midwifery and I went down to Cape Town to do it there, I didn't have the opportunity of doing it at Baragwanath, unfortunately, because of the unrest at the time. We had to find somewhere else to do it. And the waiting period at Joburg Gen was just, well, yeah, Charlotte McClay Hospital was just too long. So I went down to Cape Town. And I think I spent more time on the beach than I did in the hospital. But nevertheless, I learned so much, but I was not taught the breastfeeding. And, you know, we just aren't as professionals, pediatricians. We know the basics, but we don't know the integral parts. And so, again, like Tina, I went on a mission to find out, no, hang on a second, something is missing. There are pages missing in this book, and I need to find them. And searched far and wide, went internationally, did my board certification, and that's basically where I learned the passion for just helping moms and babies, just making sure that those moms feel confident. And so really what I come in is as an experienced professional grandmother. That's really what it is. And I love grandmothers because they know it. But as my husband pointed out, you know, through life, we will attach ourselves to people we trust. And so we learn to lean on those people. And so mothers will come to me, and often they bring the grannies with, well, they bring the, you know, all the family members, which is great. And often I can see the dad or the mom will go, or the granny will go, you see, I told you. But because I said it, it's okay now. Now it's actually okay. So what mom said was actually okay because Linda said it was okay as well. So it's you're absolutely right. It's generational. Grandmothers do know, but with our knowledge and how can I say, just the exposure to social media and everything, there's always this search for something greater. And all it comes down to is just as a mother being confident to know that you can breastfeed and just being a support there for the mom, but in very specific manners of identifying issues or problems that may arise, like tongue ties or babies can't suck. I know your little one was in ICU for a short while. So to get pumping, I know you've got loads of pictures on your photo, whatever it is. Where you collect your...
I'm actually getting very emotional listening to you speak because I think so many people don't understand how we place our value as mothers on the ability to breastfeed. And one of the standout things that you shared with me, Linda, you know, I think it was the first time, because we were consulting over the phone because you weren't able to come into the hospital.
Correct.
And then the first time we were together now, and Baba was home, and we were now getting prepared, you know, to figure out how are we doing this proper position and the position that I'd never seen anywhere, because in the media it's always same arm holding baby, you know, opposite hand squeezing the breast. And I remember the most important thing you said to me, because now I was getting so emotional that my poor baby in his under 2 kilogram state is like constantly just slow mouth trying to get milk. And I was like, oh my God, my child's hungry. And all you said that has stuck with me is you said to me, you were actually talking to baby, but you said to him, you see, mommy's learning. You know everything you need to know, but mommy's learning. That's what you said. And I was like, yes. And yeah, you said that. And I was like, you're so right, because it's instinctual with babies. We know babies can come straight out of mom and know exactly how to latch. And I'm the one who needed to learn the best way. And I mean, you're thinking about a million things, like, I don't want to break him. Oh my gosh, he's hungry. My breasts are so big. I don't want to suffocate him. What would you say is the most common challenge that moms face in those early days of trying to figure out the breastfeeding?
I think what you mentioned earlier is just to give yourself permission to love. And that's what it's about. It's just holding that baby. Do you know, one of my moms left her car seat behind on Tuesday when I was consulting a clinic. She walked out the door and I went, whose car seat is that? And I said to her, you know, it's just so beautiful to see, because she'd forgotten baby was asleep and she brought baby in the car seat. But give yourself permission to keep that baby on you forever. You know, you don't need to be putting baby down or putting baby in a crib, or just keep baby on you. And that sets just that whole habitat and that foundation of the start of breastfeeding. That's really what it's about. It's just giving yourself time and permission to love. That's really what it is.
It really is, beyond time, is that it required patience just on the part of the both of us, because there's so many factors that come into breastfeeding. Your nipple, you know, just something as simple as your nipple and how it's shaped. And the fact that some people have inverted nipples. Maybe what could you share is the one thing that women struggle the most with? For me, it was the position, because I'd never seen that position before in my life except in parenting class. And then I was like, okay, now we have to do it in real life. Because the theory is the one thing. Tina telling you about it is one thing. Now having the little 2 kilogram there that's hungry, and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to break him. How am I holding him? I have massive boobs. What would you say then is that thing that some women don't know about, that they should know about with their breasts and breastfeeding?
Okay, so I think the first thing is that trust your body. You have managed to carry this little human being for 9 months, formed him, he's grown, he's at perfect capacity to be born. He has got everything that he needs, and they are born to breastfeed. And you need to trust your body that you can do this, that you can keep this baby alive with your milk. I think the most important thing is to get a good position and a good latch, and so that both, it's a win-win. So in other words, that baby feeds easily on the breast, and that you are comfortable, that you don't have sore, cracked, bleeding nipples, as moms would say. How do I avoid that? That's pure positioning and getting a nice deep latch. And that comes down just to technique and just having someone show you. And once you realize and you practice, because it's a skill that you need to practice and master. And once the moms have done that, within a feed, it's just so instantly better. And then having the confidence to know that you have enough milk for your baby. That's what it's about, is that you will have enough milk for your baby. There's 1% of women that don't, but yet 99% of women will give up breastfeeding or stop breastfeeding because they think they don't have enough milk. And you know, it may not be, it may not work out that you breastfeeding, but you might be breast milk feeding. In other words, expressing, just like you started off, Lebo. And like I said, you've got tons of photos on your photo album with packets of milk that you've collected, stored, frozen. You know, I was just going back over all the pictures, and wow, that's an achievement. I mean, each mom has that milk medal, you know, of being able to have that you know, that enough milk. And if it means that you need to express, well, going back to work is, you know, COVID taught us that moms can work from home with most professions, and moms can be more available for their babies. But the reality is, moms have got other things to do. It is busy and it is hard out there. And having that availability to have a way of expressing that milk and giving it to baby so that you breast milk feeding is also important. And then just, like you say, having the confidence to believe you have enough and you can do it.
Can you just remind us and reiterate why we push the messaging that breast is best? Just to give context for myself, I stopped breastfeeding at about 6.5 to 7 months when the first 2 teeth started making an appearance, and I got bitten, and I was like, hell no. But I at that time was so attached to understanding the importance with my baby having issues of eczema, being a premature baby, why the breast milk was so important. So I still kept pumping on a rented massive pump. And it was so worth it. And I was able to do it till he was more than 8 months old. So just remind us, why is breast best?
So human milk is for human babies. It's specifically and species specific for your human. Likes it or not, her breast will fill with milk. She will actually go through what I call the filling. Some people call it the milk in. And if she doesn't stop that with medication, chemical drugs, in other words, tablets that your doctor's going to. And so there are many benefits. I mean, I could be here all night to tell you all about it. But the main thing is that it provides the closest book, Raising Humans, because we are such a species of so many variations. It's just incredible just to see just the differences. And yet we know that if you carry that baby, your body has the capacity to feed that baby until baby is able to take solid foods. In other words, complementary foods in a solid form, like sweet potato and other things that have got, I mean, I'm talking just a vegetable there. I'm talking proteins, every other food group that will complement the growth of that child as a human being.
All right, so I want to invite into the conversation another form of support that I only discovered much, much later on in being a parent, is that I was interviewing this company in our parenting feature about getting your child out of the bed, because your child's been in the bed and they're probably a toddler by now, and how to actually get them out of the bed into their own bed. And at some point in the conversation, my guest was like, you know, at about 10 months, baby should be sleeping through the night. I was like, what? I'm waking up so many times a night. What do you mean? And then afterwards we connected, because I had never heard of a sleep consultant. So joining us is Alana now from Good Night Baby. And it was the first time I'd ever even been introduced to the concept of a sleep consultant. I thought to myself, who the hell comes and shows you how to teach your baby to sleep? And we ended up doing it to the point that I've been talking about my baby's sleep on my YouTube channel, just sharing the journey in his growth and evolution. And I thought it was just absolutely amazing. Alana, welcome. Thank you so much for coming to chat to us. I know you've heard most of the conversation. How did you become a sleep consultant?
So I was resonating with Tina quite a bit, Lebo, when she was talking. So I was one of those, before I got pregnant, I knew what my new mommy life was going to be like, you know? Then I got pregnant, I was like, this is it. Then I had the baby. And so what happened was, in my first year, so I also had a bad PND, and in my first year. And then what I actually did, Linda will be like, no, but what I actually did was I completely weaned my firstborn at the 1 year stage, because I was just like, I'm not doing this. And everyone kept saying to me, if you wean her, she'll sleep. If you wean her, she'll sleep. If you wean her, she'll sleep. She did not sleep. Okay.
So wait, what do you mean by wean her? What do you mean by wean her, for the people that are watching, just so they can understand what you mean?
Okay. So I was breastfeeding. I was exclusively breastfeeding. Obviously, I introduced solids at the right time, but we were breastfeeding. But my baby didn't sleep. I was exhausted. I had a full-on daytime job. I had a full-on husband to also take care of. And I was exhausted. I moved her out of my bedroom at 6 weeks. It didn't help my case. Nothing helped me. Then people started saying, stop, cut off the breastfeeding, because then she won't wake up looking for the milk, because that's all she would look for at night, milk. Okay. So a few people were like, wean her. So I pushed till 1 year old, and then I weaned her. This child did not sleep. So at the very end, Lebo, this is my story about how I became sleep consultant. I actually Googled. I Googled like these guys were saying. I used Dr. Google, and I was like, what the hell do I do? Because I'm exhausted. And I just went and I closed the door, and I didn't eat for 3 days because it was so traumatizing for me to get my baby to sleep. But she did end up sleeping. But you know, you doubt yourself and you wonder if you've hurt her, or if, and yourself, your heart is broken the whole time. So fast forward, that was my first. Fast forward to my second. I thought, I'm not doing this. I'm not going to wean, because I love breastfeeding. I love. I'm a big breastfeeding advocate. So I was like, I'm not weaning this child, because my heart was very broken when I weaned my first one. And then I thought, but what do I do? And I was still stuck. And I said, also, I'm not going to shut the door and not eat like I did, because that was too heartbreaking for me as well. And what I first did was I actually sent her to a little nursery school at about 6 months of age. I was like, surely if she's tired, she'll be asleep. Nope, that didn't happen. And then one of the moms, they just sort of said, Alana, because every time people would say, hi, Alana, I say, I'm exhausted. That was my typical statement, because I had a preschooler and a baby and I wasn't sleeping. And then they just said, you know, we know a few people who've used like a consultancy agency called Good Night. Would you like to use them? So I was like, okay, got the name, got Yolandi, who's our MD's name, sort of sat on it for not too long, it was like a week. Then I was like, right, contacted her, did the consultation process the same way you did. And my little one slept through on night one. It was incredible. I mean, she slept through sitting up. Okay, so this little thing, Yolandi still sends me the photo every so often of my daughter sitting there asleep like this. Okay, so it was a bit of like, my will is stronger than what you want me to do, but her body took over. And I had such a peaceful household. You know, 7 o'clock in my house, there's no children. I know Sheila was texting me and I said 7:30 is a good start for this, because I get to put she's now preschooler age, my preschooler down.
It's the same as my son. His bedtime is 7 p.m. And I think one of the most important things that I would take out of your story that you shared in Good Night Baby is that Good Night Baby is not saying we're here to help your baby sleep. They're like, we need the whole family to sleep. And I think it's important for us to remember that a rested mom is a great mom. A rested, you know, all the caregivers, be it dad, be it the nanny, everybody needs to be rested to function the best. Yeah. And for me initially, I was like, this sounds like the cried out method. And now you just, you know, ignore your child crying, and then you're also sobbing with your glass of wine in the other room. But I think the biggest thing is that Good Night Baby is really saying, this is about the whole family getting rest, because even if the little one is crying, they wake up the other babies in the house. So share with us, from the work that you have done, what have you found we are inheriting in terms of information when it comes to sleep that is incorrect? The one thing I learned from my consultant is that a healthy baby should not be hungry or thirsty in the middle of the night at a certain age. So this idea that they need to wake up because they're hungry is actually not accurate. They can go 11 to 12 hours straight. I did not know that until my sleep consultant told me that.
Yeah. So Lebo, so a baby, as long as their stomach size is big enough, and I think Linda will confirm that for us, as long as their stomach size is big enough, they can hold enough food, milk, to have a full night of sleep. So that goes with the weight, amongst other things, and obviously also the developmental age. So yes, a baby doesn't wake up because they're hungry. And you have these toddlers that drink like 6 bottles of milk at night. Come on, guys. This child is 2 and is drinking 6 bottles of milk at night. Children do not need milk at night or food. You don't wake up and have like a meal every sort of couple of hours in the middle of the night.
You have stew and pop in the middle of the night.
No, you don't. So that being said though, so what is really important, so our sleep is not just about the night, it's all the building blocks of sleep. One of the key building blocks is nutrition. I think as you were consulting, one of the big things was, has your baby had enough milk? Has your baby had enough food in the daytime? It's almost like the little bodies know what calories they need. And if they get all those calories in the daytime, again, depending on age and weight and readiness, then they don't need to look for those calories at night. And so they spend a beautiful long night of sleep. So sleep is not just about the night part, the one that we get a bad rep about, the sleep training part. Okay, it's about everything. Is your baby eating properly during the daytime? Routine and schedule. A baby who sleeps badly in the daytime sleeps really badly at night. It's contrary to logic. You know, you would think if my baby doesn't sleep well during the daytime, they'll be exhausted. That's not even it. They will wake up at 4 a.m. They will wake up randomly at midnight and won't go back to sleep because they are overtired. You know, so all these building blocks come together. We look at environment, which is so key. It's just to do with hormones. So is the room dark enough? If you've got a nightlight on all night long for your baby, they're not going to sleep. I am myself, I'm notorious for needing a dark room for sleep, but it's because that's where my body works best with the melatonin hormone for sleep. Same thing with your little ones. You know, we also look at other factors. Is your baby premature? You look at the siblings in the house. So everything has to fit. So sleep is not meant to be a task. So one of the things you saw is that it's not meant to be hard and strict and nobody can have any joy in life with this whole sleep thing. You know, we look at, do you have other children in the house? What is your lifestyle like? How do we fit around that lifestyle while still ensuring that the whole family gets good sleep level?
Yeah, and I think...
Yes, carry on.
I was saying, I think, you know, obviously the work that you do is exceptionally underrated, because even me sharing my journey, I had many moms who were like, what do you mean he sleeps 12 hours? Doesn't he starve? You know, so there's still this perception about the fact that having a baby who is up to 2 years old should be waking up multiple times a night. And I also, you know, I did feel a little bit guilty in some respects of wanting to be rested, because it's like, but you're a mom, you should know you're supposed to be awake. Do you find in your consulting that guilt plays a big part of that transitioning into the routine, also learning how your baby cries and not responding at the first squeal that comes out? You know, do you find, for me, I struggled the most with the guilt part. And then after the first night of rest, I was like, I'm over the guilt, I'm moving on with my life.
So guilt is a large part level, you know, and I'll talk about guilt from the two levels I've seen it. So there's a mommy guilt, which we all have. I mean, I still have mommy guilt about things like, did I go to my child's event? Did I, even going on holiday, you sort of feel bad for the first couple of days, then you get into it, you know, when you've had lots of wine. But there's that mommy guilt, like you're saying, of, oh my gosh, am I leaving my child? Is my child going to be a psychopath because they cried a little? But our support is in letting you know what the cries mean. Secondly, is it a safe cry? Is it an okay cry? Listen to your baby's cries. Children complain about numerous things. They will complain about the changes we're making. Is that okay? What does an okay protest sound like? How long should this carry on? So that's what we do, all that support, hopefully to lower that mommy guilt. The guilt that I've seen, which is the first type of guilt, is actually guilt by, especially culturally, our brown daddies, do things like, why have you failed to do things that women have been doing generations past? My mummy had 9 children, and there you are struggling with the one. And so it's very...
Take it from this feminist. I will literally be like, you know, because I say this to many women, the fact that as men, you cannot afford for us to both not be working. That's the bottom line. I have a full-time job. That's it. Like, I have a full-time job.
And further to that level, one, daddy's sleeping in the spare room, or you are sleeping with the baby, one of the two. You don't have an adult life. You don't have time to talk to each other. You don't really have a relationship anymore. Get some help to get that going. The only time I have to speak to my husband is after 7, when we are sitting peacefully in our house, you know, and obviously bedtime is bedtime. We don't have a little one in the middle of us or on the side, whatever it is, disturbing all of that. I mean, you know, it's adult things no one wants to talk about, but it's the realities of having a family that doesn't sleep. And so it's just, when I talk to the daddies, because some of the moms say, please don't call for all 3 of us. I talk about these things. Everyone's a little bit cringy in the call, but it's the reality of what's happening. It is, you know. Then I hear the dad going, okay, we can give it a go. And I'm like, let's just give it. And normally they're non-believers. I've had many bottles of wines being sent to my house by dads who said, you made me believe when I didn't want to believe. And that's what it's about, because they've got their wives back. They've got their evenings back. They've got some sort of normalcy back while still having the pleasure and the gift of having a baby in the house. So that's a large reason why I do Good Night. It's just helping families. We help families sleep better. And just the quality that people get from that is incredible.
So very quickly, I'm going to ask all of you ladies one by one, what are the interesting parenting unconventional resources you have heard about, whether they're in South Africa or not? So I didn't know, I saw on TikTok a woman who she is like a doula / nurse, but she comes in for the night so mom can sleep. All that mom does is maybe pump and leave milk at the door, and this person is there for those 12 hours and with your newborn baby. I didn't know about that. And I also didn't know that you can hire somebody to come and potty train your child. So let's start with you, Tina. What are the other resources that you know about?
Gosh, I think that usually we're pretty up to date with what's out there at the time. I haven't heard about that someone, I wish I'd have known about that you could hire someone to come and potty train.
Yes.
I think one of the, I know, I mean, wow, that's amazing. I mean, absolutely amazing. I can tell you some stories about how I've sat with my grandson and spoken about his poo and, you know, explained why it needs to go in the toilet and not in the dustbin in a nappy. And, you know, it's just, we've all been through there. I think it's not a resource, but one of the things that I find incredibly interesting are people who want to start potty training their children, like while they're in the first year, while they're like 3 months old. It's a lot of work, and you need to be a stay-at-home mom when you kind of time when you feed, and then you time when you think your baby's going to wee, and then you hang them over the toilet kind of thing. You would have to be, you know, I'm sure somewhere along the line, it's going to work because baby's going to get that sphincter control and understand what it is and know what it is. But you'd have to be really dedicated to actually do those things. I think, you know, what's in our country certainly unconventional resource would be in the birthing arena. I guess it would be something like hypnobirthing. A lot of people poo-poo it, and there's a lot of good stuff about it. I'm a hypnobirthing instructor from long ago, and I don't teach hypnobirthing classes per se, but I use elements of what I've learned, because there's certain things that they require you to leave out of your curriculum, because you don't want in your mind to even think those things could happen, that you would need intervention, that you would need a Caesar or whatever. And while some women and many women they do really, really well in hypnobirthing, there are many women who don't, and then they feel like they failed somewhere along the line. But there's nothing that can top what you've just told me right now in terms of
training. Ladies, we only have just over a minute left, and I'm not sure if Instagram is going to cut us. So just in case, from your side, Linda, any quick services that you know of?
It's someone that you can talk to that's a professional to debrief through the stages of parenting and having that support. It's so important, not only for you, but for your relationship with your child and also your marriage. And there's so many different people that are available.
Alana, any interesting services?
So for me, it's the play therapists that work with toddlers and parents and how to actually parent an emotional toddler. For me, that's been a game changer. The way I parented my first daughter versus my second, using that type of help, it's just the children, it's actually so different. Yes, children are different, but even the way I feel about some of the ways I discipline is not smacking or punishment. My child is a lot different from the way I used to do it before. So that's been really useful for me.
Ladies, thank you so much. Just in case Instagram cuts us, we're going to share all of your details on how people can get in touch with you to use your services. What I hope we can have, and I said this to Sheila before we had this session, is where can somebody who doesn't have a mom, they live in the metropoles and their mom is in the rural areas and you want to rent a gogo. Like, I think that would be the most amazing services if you can rent a gogo to come and move in with you for like 3 months and just help you.
Maybe 3 years.
Yeah, that's support, because yes, I have all of these resources, but I'm so grateful I have a mom that I can be like, Mom, what must I do? Like, you need that person that you can call. So if somebody can create the rent a go-go service, I think that would be so amazing. I'm
I think
so
that's
grateful.
a good point.
Yeah, I'm so grateful to all of you for this conversation. I think that the work that you do is amazing. It is life-saving, and I'm so sure that you have prevented mothers from finding themselves burnt out, or parents finding themselves burnt out, women suffering from postpartum, postnatal depression and distress, just because you provide those resources. And I hope more women don't feel guilty by outsourcing things that are expected of us to just know naturally and to do naturally. Like, that is not how things, it doesn't have to be hard. It already is tough and challenging, but you can make your life easier. Okay, Instagram's letting us go on. Tina, final thoughts?
Get out there, get educated, and build your village. It takes a village to raise a child. Go out, find your tribe, and find your village.
Fantastic. Linda, final thoughts? Linda, final thoughts on your side? Ooh, I think network is a little bit
don't
delayed.
be scared
Can you hear
to
us,
ask for
Linda?
help. Make sure that you've got all the people around you.
Fantastic. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Alana, final thoughts?
You can be.
Yes, I can hear you. So I was just saying, don't be scared to ask for help. Make sure that you've got your support.
And Alana, your final thoughts?
I was just going to say, you can still be an excellent mom with a full night of sleep. Go get some help.
Get some help. I think that's the bottom line of our conversation, is don't be afraid to get some help. And while I'm fully aware that services carry a cost, not everybody can afford to have these services. The resources are available. Maybe you're not using Dr. Google, but go to, Good Night Baby's Facebook page, for example. They share a lot of resources. Go to all of the different, and we'll share all of the details below. Go to YouTube. So many women and professionals, pediatricians, occupational therapists are sharing all of their experience. So don't be afraid to get the help that you need to be a better person, to be a better parent, and to also just enjoy the whole ride. Like, yes, we're talking about the tough parts, but guys, being a parent is so fun.
Really is.
Really is. Thank you so much to everybody for tuning in to this conversation with Batswadi Magazine. Next week, we have a whole other conversation. Wednesday, around the same time as this, I'll make sure that I post on my personal social media as well. And of course, thank you to all of our experts that joined us. Tina, Linda, Alana, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Lebo.
Thank you. Thanks for the invite. Good night.
Night.